page 11 in your chant book. I invite you to join along if you're comfortable. The realizations of great beings. The first realization is the awareness that all dharmas are impermanent and without separate selves. By contemplating the impermanent, non-self nature of all dharmas, you can escape suffering and attain enlightenment, peace, and joy. The second realization is the awareness that more desire brings more suffering. All hardships in life arise from greed and desire. The third realization is the awareness that living simply, having few desires, leads to peace, joy, and serenity. Living simply allows for more time and concentration to practice the way and to help others. The fourth realization is the awareness that only diligent effort leads to enlightenment. Laziness and indulging sensual desires are obstacles to practice. The fourth realization is awareness that ignorance is the cause of the endless cycle of birth and death. You must always remember to listen and learn in order to develop your understanding and eloquence. The sixth realization is the awareness that poverty creates hatred and anger, which in turn creates a vicious cycle of negative thoughts and actions. Followers of the way, when practicing generosity, should consider everyone, friends and enemies alike, as equal, not condemning anyone's past wrongdoing or hating those who are presently causing harm. The seventh realization is the awareness that although we dwell in the world to teach and assist others, we should not become caught up in worldly matters. One who leaves home to follow the way possesses only 3 robes and a bowl. They always live simply and look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. The eighth realization is that we do not practice for our individual enlightenment alone, but devote our whole being to guiding all others to the gates of enlightenment. We will now resume noble silence.
Throughout space and time, to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, may it be fragrant as earth herself, reflecting careful efforts, wholehearted awareness, and the fruit of understanding, slowly ripening. May we and all beings be companions of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. May we awaken from forgetfulness and realize our true home.
And we bow. Good morning, all. I just set a record. I've never been late up here. I was 1 minute late. But thanks to the genius in the tech room, John, he printed my talk because it was going to be given on a computer if he hadn't done that, which I guess wouldn't have been a disaster. So let's stand up and greet each other. I've forgotten our courtesy announcements. Where are we? Protocol. So please don't walk in front of the dais. If you need to go downstairs, there's another bathroom down there. There's water. Feel free to go on down. We chant in an upbeat tempo, but don't chant so loud you drown out other people around you. And particularly don't do that if you have a voice like mine. Okay.
So we're going to start with the 3 refuges on page 3.
I go for refuge to Buddha, my deeply awakened mind, the living source of understanding and compassion, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to Dharma, the path of mindful living, leading to healing, joy, and enlightenment, the way of peace, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I go for refuge to the Sangha, the loving and supportive community of practice, realizing harmony, awareness, and liberation, which must be cultivated to be known fully. I am aware that the 3 jewels are within my heart. I vow to realize them. I vow to practice mindful breathing and smiling, looking deeply into things. I vow to understand living beings and their suffering. I vow to cultivate loving kindness and compassion, and to practice joy and equanimity. I vow to offer joy to one person in the morning, and to help relieve the grief of one person in the afternoon. I vow to live simply and sanely, content with few possessions, and to keep my body healthy. I vow to let go of all worry and anxiety in order to be light and free. I'm aware that I owe so much to my parents, teachers, friends, and all beings. I vow to be worthy of their trust, to practice wholeheartedly, so that understanding and compassion will flower, and I can help living beings be freed from their suffering. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts. May the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha support my efforts.
Now we turn over to the Heart Sutra. That's 2 pages.
Of great compassion from the deep practice of prajna, paramita, perceive the emptiness of all 5 skandhas and deliver all beings from their suffering. O Shariputra, form is no other than emptiness, emptiness no other than form. Form is emptiness, emptiness form. The same is true of feeling, thought, impulse, and consciousness. O Shariputra, all dharmas are empty. They are not born nor annihilated. They are not defiled nor immaculate. They do not increase nor decrease. So in emptiness, no form, no feeling, no thought, no impulse, no consciousness, no eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, no form, sound, smell, taste, touch, or objects of mind, no realm of sight, no realm of consciousness, no ignorance, nor extinction of ignorance, no old age and death, nor extinction of them, no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cease from suffering, no path to lead out of suffering, no knowledge, no attainment, no realization, for there is nothing to attain. The Bodhisattva holds on to nothing but prajna, paramita. Therefore, the mind is clear of any delusive hindrance. Without hindrance, there is no fear. Away from all delusive views, one reaches final nirvana. All Buddhas of past, present, and future, through faith in prajna, paramita, attain to the highest perfect enlightenment. Know then the prajna, paramita, is the great Dharma, the radiant fearless mantra, the utmost supreme mantra, which is capable of allaying all pain. This is true beyond all doubt. Proclaim now the highest wisdom, the prajna, paramita. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Gate, gate, paragate, parasamgate, bodhisattva. Prajna, paramita, hridaya, sutra.
Please take your seat. So a little extra scrambling around today. So hello, folks. So I'm going to continue in the tradition of one of our founding monks, Yong Su. He always said a little something about the Heart Sutra. The Heart Sutra is chanted in every tradition in Buddhism. It is our foundational sutra. One message is that you are perfect. In this moment, right now, you are perfect. There's nothing to do. There's no place to go. There's nothing to study. There's nothing to chase. You are here right now, and it's all good. So the topic of my talk is my journey to Buddhism. The title is Hippie to Monk. One of my more fun friends said you ought to put an EY on the end of that monk. Take a minute, yeah. But they, it was funny at first, but monkey mind is a real thing. When I was real young, my Nana, who I loved dearly, said that I sat so quietly and still that I could be a minister. Yeah, she didn't know what was going on in my head, but that was her idea. And I love this woman dearly. I could talk to her about anything. And I remember talking about homosexuality with her. And I was 18 and this was 60s. And she said, we can talk all you want, but don't tell Papa. All right. Okay. There's a prayer that we say, that sometimes we say, some people say it comes out of the Tibetan tradition. And we say it for 49 days to help those who've passed to go on to their next life. In 49 days, who knows what time is once you die. But I use this prayer sometimes just for myself, and I'll give you just a little bit of it. O compassionate ones, abiding in all directions, endowed with all-knowing wisdom and loving compassion, giving protection and guidance to all sentient beings, we invoke your presence and ask you to hear our prayer. O compassionate ones, protect now our fellow, whoever passed. Now, you might take that metaphorically. I personally take it as a reality. I believe my Nana is with me. I believe my loved ones are with me. They don't talk particularly, but I do walking meditations. And one morning I was walking and it just came to me and I said, Nana, what do you think? I didn't make minister, but I made monk. I felt like I got a smile, right? So the little hippie Mark, it seemed like all night, one night, and I don't know what we took, but it was something. And we were talking, friend Robert and I were talking about the nature of things, about God in particular, and what was God like? And we didn't accept anything that religion had to tell us. And it seemed like together we came to the conclusion, oh, it's all of us. It's every last thing. It's all around us. It's not some guy in the sky. It's us. That really started my quest. And my quest, my chasing enlightenment was drug fueled. I got together with a group of people that were like-minded, that were doing the same kind of searching. And one time we decided 3 of us would take a pretty massive amount of LSD. It was either 16 or 20 hits. Yeah. We were chasing, but we did it as smart as you could. we had guides, and all they did was smoke pot and watch. And thank goodness. So what I remember, there was some preliminary hallucinations. I saw a farm down there with cows and everything, and it was on the bed. Interesting. The next thing I remember is I took in a big breath and blew it out to the next person. And it spun around and around and around. And I left the planet, and we all did. And we all had our own universe. And every bit of our body was everything there was. And we had transition. God, no, everything. Everything. And all three of us did this. And this was obviously a powerful experience. And it took a while for it to come back to me. Months, years in some cases. But anyway, some parts of it. But we were doing this in our hands, stroking our palms with our index finger. What I was thinking was I wanted to find Lodi, California, October 23rd, 1952, at 11:52 in the evening. That's when I was born. Every time I got close to that, it went away. Oh my God, I got to do a whole other big bang, destruction, creation, destruction, on and on and on. A few of you in here may remember the movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. There's a picture of a birth sac with a fetus in it. And that's the next image I got. And I was screaming, no, I don't want to go back. But the compassionate ones had decided that I needed to do this experience, this human thing again. And I was throwing up, and some friends cleaned me up, and on the way I went. Well, that experience, I'll say one thing more about LSD. I wasn't at Woodstock, but I've seen that movie 20 times. Smoke pot with it every time. It was just a thing in California. I don't know, when I say it out here, you go, really? Yeah, we just lit up. Nobody bothered us. But out of that 500,000 people, there's only one that is seen in the movie that is doing the right thing. Well, I shouldn't even say right thing. That's doing the more healthy thing. They're meditating instead of taking these massive amounts of drugs. And my experience is, it takes a little longer, but if you really work at it, you get to the same place. So that searching, studying, chasing, it kind of ceased because the LSD turned against me. You don't hear very many people say it, but I was literally hooked on LSD. And the reason I say that is I went to a halfway house. I was starting to get scared I was going to do it again. I had had a series of really bad, death kind of nasty violence experiences. And I was still doing it. And that's what, when I was in Delancey Street in the halfway house, heroin addicts described their experience with trying to chase that first high. So that quest stopped, and I dove into the halfway house and politics in San Francisco, and that's a whole nother story. And came out of there, went into the Navy, started a family, 2 children, things going pretty well. Well, there was a problem, and it was me. I thought it was my wife. Sure would have been a lot easier just to blame it all on her. But she had her issues, but I'm an alcoholic. And I love alcohol. And so a friend of mine, the guy that shaved my head, that's what happened when you went into Delancey Street, New Beginnings. You got your head shaved. And my dear sponsor to this day, Paul, shave my head. We've been on an experience. Well, I lasted 10 years in AA, on my knees every day. And there's a third step prayer. And I've gone back to AA. I'm jumping ahead. I've gone back to AA recently because that just works for me. I'll talk more about it. But the third step prayer is, God, I give myself to you to do with me, build with me as you will. Relieve me of the bondage of self. That's the biggie. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do your will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them will bear witness to those you would help with your love, power, way of life. Well, this last time that I decided to go into AA, I know I needed some kind of a relationship, because we talk about it in the 11th step, sought through prayer and meditation to improve our contact with God. We have an experience. If we work the steps, we get to know God. But I was feeling kind of weird about it, and saying that step, I was questioning, can I be true to my Buddhist practice and still have a personal God? And so it was rolling around in my head, and Suji, who was here, she's moved to Kansas City, Missouri. No, Manhattan. Anyway, and she still talks here once in a while over the TV. I said that to her, and she said, oh, that sounds like the Shin Shin Ming, which is like, oh, a relief. Because the Shin Shin Ming's a little 25 stanza poem, and it embraces Zen. It's the essence of Zen. But that 10 years in AA ended in a bipolar episode. I am bipolar, and I asked my psychiatrist, this one was a mess, and I didn't admit it for a while, but finally bipolar took me to my knees, and all the destruction that went forth because of my mental illness and my suicide attempts. And I asked him, do you think I caused my bipolar disorder by using all of those drugs? And he said, I don't know. Which was enough to tell me my thinking gets similar to my LSD thinking. It's fast, it's obsessive. So anyway, whether I did or I didn't. So I was here at the beginning when we were still on Jefferson Street of the Buddhist-based recovery program. I was a Quaker at the time, just sitting in silence, waiting. We call it unprogramming. And so every Sunday we sit together for an hour and wait for the Spirit to move us and see what images, messages we got. But I was going to the Buddhist-based recovery program, and I became intrigued with Buddhism. I was also in an interfaith group, and we had covered Buddhism in it. Excuse me. So I went to the head monk. We called him Sunam at the time, because that's the Korean word for teacher. And we were a Zen Buddhist temple following the Korean discipline to some degree. He's a brilliant man, knows a lot. He'd throw in this, that, and the other thing, whether it was from Korean Zen or whatever, if it seemed appropriate, he'd throw it in, which is kind of cool. But anyway, so I said I wanted to do a 90-day experiment. And I had been meditating maybe 15, 20 years of my life at that point. And so he gave me 2 reflective guided meditations to do. One is Lojong, which is mind training for compassion. We'll be doing that next Saturday if you come to our all-day retreat. And the Shin Ming, that essence of Zen, he said, just read it. I said, contemplate? Nope, just read it. I don't know how long he had me reading it, but it was a while before he let me contemplate anything in it. But Lojong, I took off right off the bat every morning doing the short version. He said, you don't need to do the long version all the times, maybe do it once a week, but do the short version. Well, one of the reflections just hit me right between the eyes. And this was still into the 90-day experiment. I was in Meyer and I saw this woman and I just had to turn away because there was such suffering and I could feel it and I could see it and it was hard. And what Lojong told me to do is, whenever I see ill-natured beings or those overwhelmed by heavy misdeeds or suffering, I will cherish them as something rare, as though I'd found a priceless treasure. And she was a priceless treasure. And that is so hard to see sometimes, particularly, if it's a politician that you don't like, that's ill-natured, that anybody. This doesn't say, whenever I see ill-natured beings that I can like, the ones that I think are priceless treasures. No, everybody, everything. So I talked with first teacher about it, and we both agreed the experiment was a success, and I continued. I took the precepts in 2013 and the Bodhisattva vows shortly after, and being typical me, I dove into being a Dharma teacher. And there was some pretty intense studying for a while, and there were a few bumps. He didn't, we're supposed to be releasing the self, like I said in that prayer, relieve me of the bondage of self. It does not say decorate self, right? This is all Buddha right here, all of it. I think that made teacher wonder a little bit about me. And I got to tell you, if one of my students did that now, I'd kind of wonder about him, even though I did it. And it's cool when young people say, wow, I love your sleeve. I got to admit, yeah, thanks. It's still kind of cool. I got to the point where he was going to ordain me. I don't know what I did. I can't remember exactly what I was saying, what I did, but he ripped that rug right out from underneath me and said, no, you're not being ordained. And what I can kind of remember him saying is, you're never satisfied. You can't ever just sit with what is. You're always, you need to just stop. So once again, I was chasing, studying, searching, just like I did with the drugs. I didn't give up. Some of my dear friends wondered, why in the hell are you doing this? But there was something in this that I still needed, might be a word, that I saw the potential for getting out of the self. I was out of the self when I was looking at that woman in Meyer. The self was diminished, and I wanted more of that. Diminish this self and let me grow more. So an appropriate Shin Ming reflection at this point is, do not seek the truth. That was me. Seek. Only cease to cherish opinions. I should have be a Dharma teacher. He should have let me, you know. I would be a great one, yada, yada, yada. So I got to admit, I wasn't real happy with first teacher. I wasn't working AA at the time in looking at what my part of resentment is. That's what we do in AA. In the fourth step, we look at all of our resentments and wrongs, and then we figure them out. But I was working the Buddhist-based recovery program, and in the Shin Ming, I was contemplating, well, wait a minute. No, Lojong. First, don't jump ahead. Lojong, for first teacher. Even when someone I have helped or in whom I have placed great hopes mistreats me very unjustly, I will view that person as a true spiritual teacher. Over and over and over again. Every time in my meditation, I was saying that. And it finally started to diminish. And the first time I realized it was when I didn't call him Russell Pitts anymore. You know, that Russell Pitts was you're not my teacher. It was a little bit of a shot. And that kind of diminished. The Shin Ming, if you wish to know the truth, then hold to no opinion. Boy, was I holding on to an opinion about Russell. You know, even though I was saying that, I recognized he's a teacher, but I still had an opinion. If you wish to know the truth, then hold to no opinion for or against anything. To set up what you like against what you dislike is the disease of the mind. And even though I had worked in that Lojong one and it had lessened the situation, I was still in the opinion. And you'll see, I don't know, there's 50,000 pages. There's just numerous sutras in Buddhism. And there's something we call expedient means. And Buddha used it constantly. It was meet your student where they are. And that first Lojong thing got me to let loose a little bit my anger, quite a bit, but not completely. I was still holding on to that opinion. So back to AA. It's almost 2 years ago now. Through a series of events with my family and other things, I was very fearful. And I went to an AA meeting with a friend. And I hadn't been to a regular AA meeting in years. And I got tears when I heard, take what you like and leave the rest. Because I was truly dedicated to AA for 10 years. And I realized this is what this alcoholic drug addict needs right now. I needed to do the steps again. I had done them twice, and I needed to do them again. So Paul, my dear friend who shaved my head, he's got 39 years. I would have 38 if I had had continuous ones, but I don't. I'll be coming up. I will have 17 years on Pearl Harbor Day, which is very appropriate. The destruction I had caused, I woke up in the hospital 17 years ago. So I worked through the steps and made amends. You make a personal inventory and you list the wrongs you've done and you list your resentments, because you play a part in every last resentment you have. There's no exceptions. If you have a resentment, you're playing a part. Even, let's take the most extreme case. you're a baby and were abused, or you're a female and got raped, and you're truly a victim, your part is holding on to it. The whole amends thing is hopefully it helps the other person and you can mend, but it's really for yourself. It's really to set yourself free, because when you have a resentment, it's like a spiritual chain that just holds you to that person. I like it. You might have heard it. It's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. So I got through all the resentments. I mean, amends. I still have one. I go back and forth. Do I really need to? I don't really. So, but first teacher, I call him first teacher now because I've had 3. I'm on the 3rd. He's in Italy now, and I sent him a message basically saying, if I had a student like what I was to you, I might have done the same thing you did. And that lightened it up so much. It was just, I mean, I truly can kind of giggle. There's no more attachment. It's just like, if he ever comes back to the States, I'd love to sit down and have a cup of coffee with him. Who knows? But it just took it all away. So I asked Nana, do you think I'm a good monk, Nana? The sense I get is, if you're not chasing, if you're not obsessively studying, if you're, whatever, if you're just sitting with it and allowing it to happen, and it doesn't mean that you shouldn't study. Chasing is where I get into trouble, thinking that this is the thing that is gonna make me okay. That's the thing that is gonna make me okay. No, just sit. Just sit. P.S. Postscript. I was going to look it up. I don't know when the Rolling Stones came out with the song Sympathy for the Devil. And I don't know how many of you know that song, but it's a popular song. Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of fortune and fame. Been around a long, long time. Saw many a man suffer in pain, something like that. I was there when Jesus Christ had his moment of doubt and pain. Made sure the pilot sealed his fate, did his whatever. And the lines that really got, the line that just, I think the first time I heard this really got me. Well, who killed the Kennedys? Well, it was you and me, right? I mean, we don't say devil in Buddhism, it's Mara. And every cop is a criminal, and every sinner a saint. Buddha is Mara. Mara is Buddha. I am Mara. I am Buddha. It's all one thing. We love to say, my second teacher loved to say, Amko, 0 degrees of separation. So I have 0 degrees of separation from Hitler and all the others that I don't like and don't approve of. It's it. It's us. Don't get too hung up on it because it'll change. And now let's prepare ourselves for meditation. Get in a comfortable, upright position. You're sitting on a cushion. Don't make yourself uncomfortable. If you're sitting on a chair, have your feet flat on the floor. If you haven't meditated much before, a suggestion to start is just to focus on the breath. Start at 5, count your breaths. Go down to 1, start over again. And we'll begin and end with 3 strikes of the bowl. And we bow. And now we take a moment for joys and concerns. And please remember there's quite a number of people here that might want to share. So let us know what's in your heart, but kind of keep it brief. And yeah, and remember it's just a joy or concern.
Hi, I'm Andy. I was here 2 weeks ago and shared that I was really concerned about my daughter Rosie. That weekend she just suddenly couldn't really walk, and it was really scary. And so she ended up 2 weeks ago today. She stayed in the hospital for 2 nights, and it ended up being just something not very serious. So that was really good. And she's back to her normal self. That's it.
Hi, my name is Ellen. My husband is a lover of the lighthouse. And we live in Holland and we go up north all the time to see lighthouses. And our favorite is in Whitehall. And on Friday, we went up and it was a glorious day. Oh, it was so wonderful. And we sat on one of the benches and we just soaked it up. Then we scooted in the car and headed back home and went to a new to us park, the Ottawa Sands County Park. And if you've never, oh my gosh, they've completely renovated it. There are tree houses there. There are yurts and campsites and fire pits. And there's a 1.5 mile paved path around the Spring Lake. It is just an amazing, amazing spot. And we just soaked up every moment of it. It was grand.
Good morning, Sangha. I'll share 2 joys. Sometimes when I do the Heart Sutra, like I have a hard time containing my laughter. Like it brings joy to my heart, just being a part of the Sangha and doing the Heart Sutra. I want to break out wildly laughing, but I'm like, I don't think that's quite like the message I want to send out. And then, yeah, it just really relates to what you were saying. Yesterday, I got to share an SNL talk for 1 year sobriety and AA, and I discovered something about myself. I can share my experience, strength, and hope. I can speak in front of a large group of people in a state of peace and joy. That's so much growth, so much growth. And it was really just a blessed experience. It really was.
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Kunga Nima. I'm one of the teaching monks here. And I want to share 2 things. Last weekend, we went to Michigan State, where my younger daughter goes, and celebrated her 19th birthday. So that was pretty cool. And then on Tuesday, we went to University of Michigan, and we got to see my older daughter defend her PhD. So that was pretty cool, too. So they're both doing really well, and we're really proud of them, and it's amazing. Thank you.
Good morning, Sangha. Can everybody hear me? Yeah. I just wanted to share a joy. I went to the Kamala Harris rally the other day here in Grand Rapids I heard 6,000 other people. And I just want to share what a joyous, energetic, beautiful crowd was there that was all celebrating our upcoming election and the hope for the future. Thank you.
Is that it? Anybody online? All right, we'll hold a moment for those joys. We'll start and end with one strike of the bowl. And we bow. Now we have October announcements. There's an online meditation group on Wednesdays from 6 to 6:45. See Venerable Kunga for more info. There's a Dharma discussion group on Thursdays from 9:30 to 11. And contact Reverend Yong Su. There's an Avatamsaka Sutra study group. It's bi-weekly on Thursdays, October 3rd and October 17th from 7 to 9. Will Arlington or Reverend Yong Su or Shane Weimer can tell you more about that. The Grand Rapids Board meets on the third Sunday of the month, but this time it met last week. There's a fall silent retreat next Saturday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. We'd like you to register by this Friday if you plan to come. Ulaanbaatar Potluck Day is October 27th, following Sunday service. Please join us for a potluck reception to celebrate Ulaanbaatar Day. Please bring dessert or snacks that serve about 6, and please list the ingredients so people with allergies or preferences can know what they're going to eat. Buddhist-based recovery programs. Monday at 6:30 meditation, 7 o'clock meeting here at the temple. Wednesday 6:30 at the Alano Club, 1020 College, 6:30 and 7. And then Fridays at 10:05 here again at the temple. It used to be Garfield Park, but we got a little too cold for that. So it's now at the temple until spring. Are there any other temple-related announcements?
Good morning, Sangha. My name is Ellen. In our practice, the word dana means generosity. Comes in all shapes and sizes. Certainly your time you're spending here is giving of your time. You could also contact someone here at the temple if you're interested in giving more time, which would mean helping out in the tech center back there, being a greeter, giving the dana announcement. Also, when we have, like next week, when we have the potluck, setting up, cleaning up afterward, another generous time-giving experience. I'm rambling here. Also, we have a list downstairs in the washroom, dishwashing room of things we might need, like paper towels and such. You can check that out anytime. And last but not least, this temple exists solely on generosity. No one receives a paycheck. So to cover some of those expenses, we have dana boxes at each end of the hall. They also have a QR code that will take you right to PayPal. You could set up one-time giving or monthly. The boxes also take cash and a check. You can also go to our website, zengr.org. There's a donate button there. And if you're watching on YouTube, there's also a drop-down menu for donations. So anything you can do whenever you can do it, we appreciate it greatly.
All right, we will now stand and do our closing gathas, which are on page 6.
For all unskillful actions ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born in my body on my thoughts, now I atone for them all. Vast is the road of compassion, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Buddhist teachings for the benefit of all sentient beings. All beings, one body, I vow to liberate. Endless blind passion, I vow to uproot. Dharma gates without number, I vow to enter. The great way of Buddha, I vow to attain.
Yeah, be back there. So there's a brief time for tea, but 11:15 we have a meeting downstairs. And a brief back there. Where are we? Oh. Yeah.